Going on YouTube, Cloverbells here back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be recapping the recently finished Charlotte Regionals, which actually just wrapped up a couple hours ago. But the reason why we're able to look at the data and just give a video in general as of right now is because we have a couple websites that we're working around the clock to give us everything that we need. So shout outs to the Victory Road website for not only also putting out teams and team sheets, but also shout outs to the guys at LabMouse, right? And again, if you haven't been using the LabMouse website, you really do need to get on it, because these guys have been working nonstop and they've been able to not just provide team sheets like, you know, Limitless website or even Victory Road, but they give you data that you can use and inform yourself as far as like meta stuff and even like team building construction wise, because they can give you top team compositions, you know, 3, 4, 5 Pokemon compositions. They can give you items, most popular items in that sense. And then you also have this cool filter function where if you're looking at a particular Pokemon and trying to see what kind of teams it was used on, or even like placement wise, that will allow you to do that here in the LabMouse website, and a bunch of other things, but we'll get more into that as we, you know, go through the video. But again, just wanted to give them some love, because without them, videos like this are just not possible, or they just don't look as good. All right, but anyway, back to Charlotte Regionals. So basically, again, we saw Wolfe Glick come back from his little hiatus. He took a bit of a month, not a month, I'm sorry, a couple months off, you know, to just reset himself mentally, physically, and, you know, who knows what he was doing during his time off. But he got back. I'm sure he prepped, but you know, sometimes to prevent burnout, you just really need to take some time off. You don't have to go the full grind 12 months a year. You know, you do need to, you know, reset yourself. And Wolfe was able to do that. And look, long-term results, he ends up winning his 8th regional, right? So shout outs to him. And we'll look at his squad, as well as second place winner Nick in his second. Shout outs to Nick, by the way. He had a fantastic run. He was great to watch on stream. And but you know, but overall, the Charlotte Regionals was the biggest one ever. 845 players. That is insane. And this number will continue to grow, I'm sure, in regionals to come, because the game is growing, right? Pokemon VGC is growing more and more. Okay, and a couple of questions that we wanted to ask, you know, be right as we entered Charlotte Regionals. What would Portland results translate into as far as like updated meta results for Charlotte? Like, would the Alex Underhill 6 once again prove to be strong in this regional? Would we see Dondozo running rampant in Charlotte Regionals, you know, like we saw from Chupa getting second place there? And what about some of the other archetypes? Will we get some good performances from them? And what about like some other recent developments that started to happen, you know, from Portland? Would that translate over into stronger results in Charlotte? So one way to really look at that is to look at usage rate, and we have day 1 and day 2 usage. So let's go ahead and take a look at that first, and then we'll start looking at, you know, other teams. All right, so this is day 1 usage rate at Charlotte. So basically a lot of stuff here that looks interesting, but all in all, a lot of it was expected. Like, of course, Fluttermane is going to take this #1 spot. But what's also pretty cool and interesting and surprising, but not so surprising, is Wellspring Ogerpon at #2. Again, showing its dominance as the most used Ogerpon Wellspring right now. Again, you know, the balance that you get with water and grass is very, very good. You're able to put pressure on a lot of these bulky fire types, like Incineroar, like an Entei, you know, with your water type Ivy Cudgel. And then at the same time, you know, being that grass type will allow you to get around stuff like Amoonguss, for example, right? Because you can't get spored. And then you're also able to put pressure against some of the bulky water types like Urshifu's Rapid Strike over here, because you have access to grass moves, right? And then all together, you know, Water Absorb against the Rapid Strike Urshifu is very, very strong. So that's one reason why it's basically #2 here. And, you know, that's also why Rapid Strike is also where it is right now. Again, top 12. But again, dropping a little bit because this guy is rising. So that's one thing to note. Chien-Pao at #3. Ooh, yeah, you know, again, the Dragonite, Entei, Chien-Pao stuff was something to behold as of right now, leading into Charlotte because of the priority spam stuff, right? Dragonite, Entei, Chien-Pao, you know, that was the big 4, big 3 actually. And then you may have even just slid in the Raging Bolt in there. And then you had 4 Pokemon with priority moves there. So, you know, Entei and Chien-Pao expected placements here. Then you had Incineroar within the top 6, also as expected. And then Tornadus stuff, you know, Tailwind Hyper Offense is always going to be good. Has been good since Regulation D, and that continues to be the case 6 months later. So, you know, shout outs to Tornadus. No Whimsicott, no Cotton Ball stuff. So, you know, Whimsicott has to have its footing, you know, somewhere else, but it ain't here right now in Regulation E. And then you had, again, Landorus Incarnate still being a very, very strong and popular option. Again, you know, Sheer Force, Life Orb, Earth Power, and Sludge Bomb, able to put pressure on these Entei, on these Ogerpons if they don't terrestrialize, on these Incineroars, you just wipe them. And then even, or you know, the Raging Bolts, you're able to put pressure with Earth Power as well. Again, bearing, you know, terrestrialization, of course. But again, just another strong special attacker that you can feature. Amoonguss, again, also very good. Starting to rise yet again. Still within the top 12. And again, the Mushroom is always going to be good in VGC. Spore is broken. Rage Powder with the bulk is broken. And it just helps you with positioning overall, right? And then this was the story of the regional, of course, Farigiraf, right? And more on Farigiraf in a bit. But leading into the regional, we expected the Blood Moon and the Farigiraf idea to skyrocket, because you can't just let Dragonite Entei click extreme speeds and Raging Bolts click thunderclaps, right? You got to do something about that. You got to take that away, okay? You can't just let them click that and win the game, you know, for that, because your speed control is irrelevant. So Farigiraf all of a sudden becomes arguably the best niche Pokemon that we have right now. You know, again, with that ability to deny priority, and then at the same time set up Trick Room for some of your big sweepers in the back, like a Blood Moon Ursaluna that can put pressure on everything here, is excellent, right? And we'll talk more about that when we start talking about the teams. But this is day one usage, again, as expected from Portland. But then when we go also look at over here, the last notable thing is Urshifu Single-Strike, which was picking up towards the end of Portland, and now you even see it here. You know, almost cracking the top 6 here, and just barely behind the Rapid Strike, barely, right? Like very, very close. Again, puts pressure on Psy Spam teams, right? The Indeedee Iron Crown, you punch the Indeedee, and then you all of a sudden the Iron Crown is exposed to whatever it is you have next to the Urshifu. You could put pressure on the Iron Crown itself because you are a Dark type, he's a Psychic type. And then at the same time, you know, you don't take damage from Expanding Force because you are a Dark type. So you've got that going for you, okay? And then, you know, again, just like you can punch the Ogerpon because this thing will just click follow me, and then you can't click Surging Strike. So your best weapon is taken away. So Urshifu says, okay, fine, let's go with a dark move. You can't block that, so we'll just use that against this. And, you know, it may not be able to one-shot because, you know, a lot of these Ogerpons are going to be bulky, but it'll still do a ton of damage, and at least we can hit it, right? So that's the one thing that Urshifu Single-Strike can also give you in that sense, right? But now when we look at day 2, big difference here in what we're looking at, all right? So for the first time, and I can't even remember how long, this might actually be the first time, is Single Strike, it just actually surpassed the Rapid Strike. So this is day 2. So again, it had a strong showing, okay, you know, after Portland. And then now leading into Charlotte, you know, again, strong showcase again. And I would expect this to be the case going into Knoxville. Knoxville is a quick turnaround. It's only about 2 weeks, right? You know, February 1st or whatnot. So, you know, a lot of this data will get translated into what we see in Knoxville. So it's very important to look at this stuff. So Urshifu Single-Strike cracking the top 6 now, leaving the Rapid Strike still here in the top 12, but again, surpassing it. Incineroar still, you know, keeping its top 6 placement spot, but now Amoonguss rising back into the top 6. It's back to 4th, right? This is the highest I've seen Amoonguss get back to since, you know, those Reg D days before the Ogerpon started rising, right? I actually think Ogerpon was Reg D. Yeah, before Reg D. Okay, so yeah, Amoonguss back to where it needs to be. Again, very, very good in Trick Room. So Sport Pressure is very much needed. You're able to redirect a lot of different things, in particular the Urshifu Single-Strike now, and even the Rapid Strike. So, you know, Amoonguss always going to be good. Then what's also pretty cool here is the Indeedee. I can't remember I've seen Indeedee in the top 12, right? But again, it makes sense because what does Indeedee do? First of all, it has the same role as Farigiraf. Psychic Terrain stops priority, okay? And then at the same time, you get to have these terrain wars with Rillaboom, right? Where's Rillaboom in this list? Do you see Rillaboom here? No. Do you see Rillaboom here? No, right? Because again, you've got Farigiraf, you've got Indeedee stopping Rillaboom from clicking Grassy Glides and Fake Outs. So now what is Rillaboom doing? Clicking Wood Hammers and U-turns? Okay, I guess you can do that. But, you know, again, the Indeedee stuff with Iron Crown is very, very strong. The Indeedee in some of these hyper offense teams is also very, very good. But this was pretty funny to see the fact that we have Indeedee here. But again, it makes sense because you got to take away priority spam strongest weapons away. So that'll do it there. And then again, Fluttermane, Ogerpon, Tornadus, they keep their top 2-3 spots there. That's expected. Raging Bolt still within the top 12, but it did get a little bit of drop in usage, of course, from 20 to about 17. Not a huge drop, right? You know, 5%, not too bad. Amoonguss going from 18% to 34. That's pretty significant. All right, but Fluttermane 68, 61, 68. That's, again, this thing is always going to be good. This thing has been good for over a year now. Like, I don't expect it going away anytime soon. King Gambit cracking back the top 12. Again, very, very good against stuff like Indeedee, stuff like Iron Crown. Again, another dark type that can't be hit with Expanding Force. Anti-Intimidate, so Incineroar is not going to be great there. You know, really good into Tornadus Tailwind teams. You can't click Bleak Wind Storm. Otherwise, you risk getting the speed drop, and then Defiant activates. So Sucker Punch Crusher is going to be good. All right, Landorus still more or less in its same spot. But again, everything here is as expected except the Indeedee. You knew Indeedee would be like very popular. Like I could say Indeedee was top 20, but you know, to say that it was like top 10, you know, that's something else. And no Dragonite to be found, by the way. You know, and Entei dropping out completely. Same as Chanpao. So look at this. Dragonite, Chanpao, and Entei completely gone in the top 12 usage as far as day 2 Charlotte is concerned. So the adaptation, again, you brought Farigiraf, you started bringing in Indeedees, those teams started to struggle. And now all of a sudden, the balance stuff can actually play the game again. Look, Tornadus can do well again. You know, Ogerpon, Fluttermane, they're not susceptible to all this priority stuff because you got these guys chilling with you. So they're able to help you out there. Okay, the one thing that I will expect to see a little bit more of is probably this go up a little bit more and Blood Moon Ursaluna. We'll see what that looks like. But anyway, so it was pretty cool to see the top 12 usage. No Iron Hands, no Landorus. You know, they've had their day in the sun, you know, back in Regulation D and previously. So, you know, that's also something to note of. And maybe we'll do a video on something like, you know, these Pokemon got worse, you know, within Regulation E. You know, them two being two of those options. But they're still good Pokemon. They're just not top 12 good right now. But anyway, let's go and take a look at the teams. All right, so now let's head into the Lab Mouse website. And now let's take a look at the top 2 teams here. Let's look at Wolfe's winning team and Nicholas in second place. So right here with Wolfe, Wolfe says, you know what? Give me the top Pokemon that I know how to use. Old reliables. Give me Incineroar, pun intended, for Mr. Wolfe. Then give me Rillaboom and give me Urshifu. Give me the classic Fire, Water, Grass core with the double Fake Out Brothers. And then give me Surging Strikes with Unseen Fists, right? He's saying, look, I'm going to click Fake Out. I'm going to click Surging Strikes. You know, hard to switch into. All right, you can't protect. I'm going to get free damage off. I'm going to outspeed a lot of your fast threats like another Fluttermane. Okay, and then at the same time, if you've got your own priority stuff, I'm going to use my Farigiraf. But it's not just going to be a bot that's just going to click Helping Hand or maybe just sit there and deny priority. This thing is going to do damage for me. All right, I'm going to put Throat Spray on this. And now all of a sudden, when I click Hyper Voice, now the Hyper Voice and Psychic are going to be doing a lot of damage. And they were doing a lot of damage. When we saw them on stream, this thing was chipping things for a ton of damage. All right, and then you also get Trick Room to be able to outpace some of these Tailwind offense teams. This is a boon against them, right? And then this Fluttermane is Calm Mind. So Shadow Ball, Moonblast, Calm Mind. This is a setup Fluttermane. You need a little bit more damage. Fluttermane can do that for you. Terra-type Grass is also really nice. Again, against something like another Choice Scarf, Rapid Strike, Urshifu, against Amoonguss, against Rillaboom. Terra Grass Fluttermane was a great idea for Mr. Wolfe Glick. And then over here, the one that was like an eyeball one that rose a lot of eyebrows is what I meant to say, was the Ogerpon Heartflame. Ironic that not only did Wolfe have it, but Nick had it as well. And, you know, it's just very interesting to see that even though the Wellspring Ogerpon was the more dominant Ogerpon leading into this tournament, that the Heartflame was the one in the finals, right? That was pretty cool to see. And again, it just shows you that Ogerpon, no matter what mass, is always going to be viable. It just depends on the team and the player playing it, right? So that being said, look at this. Ivy Cudgel and Grassy Glide, of course, as expected. You got Rillaboom on the team. So no Follow Me here, no redirection, but you do have Swords Dance here. So now all of a sudden, Swords Dance Grassy Glides are going to start hitting for a ton of damage. Okay, and then even, you know, +2 Ivy Cudgels are going to be doing a lot of damage. Because one thing you want to do against Ogerpon Hardflame is just intimidate it, right? And then it just doesn't do any damage. But now it gets +1, we Terastallize it, then you go for Swords Dance, now you're +3. And Wolfe is saying, look, +3 Grassy Glides, even when resisted, is still going to do quite a bit of damage. All right, and then this is an AV Rillaboom with the Terra Poison there. That's going to be that's also pretty interesting as well. You know, that's pretty good against Flutter Mane stuff as well. But, you know, pretty cool team from Wolfe. It's just like good balanced stuff with Flutter Mane here, just dealing a ton of damage. So yeah, that was interesting to see. And then Nick over here was using this hybrid Blood Moon Farigiraf idea, right? Again, like we mentioned, but then you add Tornadus here, and now all of a sudden you've got a fast mode here with Tornadus, Urshifu, and even Ogerpon Heartflame here, like we said here. And then technically you can put the Blood Moon in Tailwind, right? I don't remember what their speed stats were, so to speak, but the fact that you can now have this hybrid option of, again, Tailwind and Trick Room just gives you more flexibility in a best of 3 tournament, right? Because now you have interesting league combinations you know, against your opponent, because now you're just not reliant on like Iron Hands Farigiraf, Fake Out, set up Trick Room, or Blood Moon Ursaluna with Farigiraf, you know, maybe Protect turn 1, then set up Trick Room like that. You know, that's very easily distinguished. But now all of a sudden you add Tornadus, and now things get a little bit more interesting. You know, Torn Urshifu leads, or even Torn Ogerpon leads. You know, that could be a very a thing over here. And then what's also cool about Iron Hands, the Clear Amulet set with Close Combat. So now you can't intimidate the Iron Hands, and now you have Helping Hand you on the Farigiraf. So now look at this. You set up Trick Room, and then all of a sudden you can't intimidate this. So now Helping Hand with Close Combat, who's switching into that? I don't know. Maybe, yeah, of course, Ghost types, but like, again, you can still easily play around that. You know, Wild Charge, Heavy Slam, these are all things that are going to do a lot of damage with Helping Hand Farigiraf. This is a Citrus Berry Farigiraf, so you have that recovery there. And again, Single Strike Urshifu over here. So you had Single Strike versus the Rapid Strike here. But all in all, again, you've got the Trick Room mode, okay? And then you've got Ogerpon here with Follow Me. So you have the Redirector that can help you set up. You have the Fake Out option, okay? So you got a lot of things going for you. Tailwind, Icy Wind, Trick Room. So it's a really cool team, all right? And it's a nice idea to add Tornadus into this. We didn't see it in the finals, but I'm sure Nick, you know, throughout his rounds had good use in Tornadus throughout his run here. So that was a pretty cool idea. And will we see this leading into Knoxville? Yes, I think we will, especially these two, Farigiraf and the Blood Moon Ursaluna. I do expect, along with Urshifu Single-Strike, I do expect these three, again, to continue to rise through the ranks. And you're going to see a lot of this stuff in the online tournaments. So just be ready, okay? There are things you can do. Okay, but we'll discuss that in future videos. But you know, we're just reporting results here. But again, shout outs to Nick. Great run there. You know, it's pretty cool to play Wolfe Glick 3 times in one tournament, right? I guess. Now, and I'm not talking about just finals. Like, they played each other in Swiss. They also played each other in day 2, and then they also played each other in finals. That's a lot of games against the 8-time regional champion. It only helps you get better, I'm sure. But Nick is a great player in himself. So shout outs again to him. But now let's take a look at some of these other teams and these other archetypes. To me, this was the tournament of Gouging Fire, and it was nice to see another new Paradox Pokemon take center stage in a big regional. Last time we saw it, it was Raging Bolt. That was as expected. Now Gouging Fire had very strong results, because basically what it's able to do is it's able to fulfill 2 roles. One, it can give you damage mitigation with Breaking Swipe. This is if you don't even have Intimidate on your team. So now you get an active form of Intimidate with Stab, Breaking Swipe, and with 115 base attack stat, this is actually going to hurt a lot. And then at the same time, you can boost yourself and your allies with Howl. So now imagine +1 Breaking Swipes. This thing is going to start hurting a lot, and it's going to start chipping away at a lot of your opponent's Pokemon. And then look at its stats. Again, one of those triple-digit stats with HP, attack, and defense. But the special defense is not like its paper. Like 93 SPDF is actually very good. And 91 speed, even though it is slow, it's not that slow. So, you know, you can definitely do a lot with Gouging Fire. Dragon Fire typing is also really nice. Again, you balance out that fairy weakness, turning it into a neutral. hit. The grass attacks, they get quad resisted, you know, and then of course the water weakness from fire is also now turning into neutral because of the dragon typing. So, you know, again, just think Reshiram here. We featured Gouging Fire from Will a couple weeks ago on the channel, you know, with that rental code. And by the way, he did well here, which we'll look at it in a second. Then, of course, then you have Heat Crash, right? So now Heat Crash, again, if you're really heavy, it's going to start doing a lot of damage. But again, this is just great chip damage overall. And then, of course, you either have Protect or access to Burning Bulwark. So again, when you make contact, you're going to inflict a burn. It's almost like a quote-unquote worse version of Volcarona's Flame Body. But again, Burning Bulwark still doing the job that it needs to do. So this is like a very, very standard set here that you may consider running these days with Gouging Fire. And you don't have to run full attack investment. I would just, you know, depending on all these Gouging Fires, the way you would EV this is just make it super bulky with a little bit of attack investment and then some speed and speed depth just to compensate, right? Then now if we take a look at some of these teams, okay, third place Luca's team, right? Again, King Gambit with Howl is just going to do so. And Swords Dance, like imagine this, Howl, Swords Dance, and then all of a sudden you have Sucker Punches. Like, again, you know, you may not, if there's no Farigiraf, what's stopping this? And then Howl Rillaboom, +1 Grassy Glides, Howl Ogerpon and Champa. A lot of physical attackers here besides Fluttermane that are going to just flat out benefit from Howl. Then you could, what you could do is like Protect or Spiky Shield and click Howl. So now all of a sudden Ogerpon, Chanpao, and King Gambit, they get a free boost and they don't have to take any damage. Even if Gouging Fire takes damage, it's still fine. You can always just reposition and switch it out. And then, you know, again, Rillaboom, fake out pressure, right? You have Redirection here would Follow Me. So double grass ideas over here, but Hornleech doing more damage with grassy terrain. So that's a really, really nice idea. And then Chanpao just makes all of this do even more damage because, you know, of course, of Sword of Ruin. So this is Luca's team. And then again, this is Booster Energy with Terra Fairy. So that's going to help it as well. All right, then if we take a look at Will's team, again, 12-3, this is the one that we used the rental for before. And again, you know, Landorus here with Sandsear Storm, still the same stuff. No substitute. I guess you get some benefit there with Sandsear Storm hitting 2 targets. But now we have Snarl on Gouging Fire. Now we have even more damage mitigation. Breaking Swipe and Snarl. So you're reducing physical damage. You're reducing special attack damage all in all. And you still have this idea of howling next to King Gambit and or the Ogerpon Wellspring, right? And then Fluttermane and Amoonguss, you know, they can hide behind. And then you know, you can always just bring them into Trick Room games. You know, even Parasong is great at forcing reposition stuff. And then if you're able to pick up a couple KOs right away, you can always just click this move, right? So that's the idea here. Then if we keep going down, let's look at the results of Gouging Fire. Like a lot of day 2 Gouging Fires, like right up to here, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Gouging Fires. That is insane. Great job there. This one is a Latios Gyarados Gouging Fire. Hold on, let's take a look at this. But still, we see the King Gambit and Rillaboom idea, of course. Then we add Gyarados here, you know, with Howl. Again, now all of this stuff is going to, again, 5 physical attackers, 1 special attacker here. And this one was Latios here, you know, with Luster, Purse, Draco Meteor, Calm Mind. Okay, that's pretty cool. So 5 physical attackers, 1 special. That seems to be a very common formula. Riley Corn over here. So now this one also has Tornadus here. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and here's the Single-Strike Urshifu here. Choice Specs Fluttermane with Icy Wind. You know, again, still giving you speed control. There's the Snarl yet again. So Breaking Swipe, Snarl. All right, Heat Crash. No Howl here, actually. So that's also pretty cool. No Howl. Just straight up damage mitigation with Breaking Swipe and Snarl. And then let the Fluttermane and Urshifu deal the damage that they need to do. So that's another way of playing the Gouging Fire. What about over here from James? Is this Howl? Yes, it is. So Howl, Breaking Swipe. All right, standard set here. Rillaboom, Ogerpon, and King Gambit. Okay, again, very familiar formula here. And there's the substitute Landorus. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so that's good there. No, oh, this one also has Dragonite here. So this is also pretty good from Raghav Malavia. I was looking for this one. So Gouging Fire. Yes, we have Chanpao. Yes, we have King Gambit and Ogerpon yet again. But now imagine Dragonite, you know, +1, you know, going for extreme speeds and whatnot. And then you just swap in like Chanpaos and whatnot. So this Dragonite is now bulkier, does less damage, you know, because of this Assault Vest. But you can kind of compensate with Gouging Fire, right? You can click Howl next to it, and now the Dragonite will start hitting harder, and it gets the nice benefit of the Assault Vest to be able to stay on the field and be super bulky, right? But the common idea here is that Gouging Fire and Kingambit is good, okay? So if you wanted to build a core, start with these two, okay? And then from there, you've got a lot of ideas in terms of where you want to go with the team. But it seems to me like an Ogerpon, Wellspring, and another special attacker would be your starting formula. So nice results from Gouging Fire. We'll see if we can get even more of this moving forward into Knoxville, okay? But again, the toolkit that it provides is actually really nice, and none of the Paradox Pokemon are doing that right now. So, you know, good ideas from Gouging Fire. All right, Glimmora. Now, again, Glimmora outside of Dondozo, how would it do? It actually does very, very well. In fact, look at all the day twos and even the strong Glimmora teams. Where is the Dondozo? You don't need it, okay? So Glimmora does very well on its own. We just put out a whole team building video on Glimmora, you know, the video before this, okay? Because it's a good Pokemon. Like, Meteor Beam is strong. Meteor Beam is strong. Steven Mia's team, we actually talked about this in the video, okay? You have Glimmora, right? Then you have Tornadus. Then you have Ogerpon, Wellspring, Fluttermane, and Urshifu. The one thing that I talked about that you'll see variants is the fire type option. You can see Chi-Yu, you can see Entei, you can see Incineroar, you can see Hisuian Arcanine. We chose Hisuian Arcanine because we like Intimidate. But, you know, Chi-Yu just makes sense on a team like this, okay? Because why? You have the Fluttermane already. You have the Glimmora already. You have two special attackers that can benefit from Beads of Ruin. Slap it on there, okay? You got all the physical damage you need with Single Strike Urshifu and the Ogerpon, okay? Let the Tornadus do its job. Let it be the Tailwind Sunny Day stuff. Enable the Fluttermane. Enable the Chi-Yu. All right, Sunny Day will make Urshifu Urshifu Rapid Strike do less damage against Glimmora and against Chi-Yu. You're fine, okay? Yes, it'll do, your Ogerpon Wellspring will do less damage. Doesn't matter, okay? You got this guy's job is to click recovery moves and then redirect everything. Protect these guys. These are the frail ones, okay? This guy's gonna sit here, redirect everything, let the Fluttermane and Urshifu and other stuff do a ton of the damage. So again, Glimmora, Meteor Beam. We talked about the damage calcs in the previous video. It's gonna do a lot, okay? Earth Power, also very good into other bulky fire types, okay? And then you just saw that Hearth Flame Wellspring took over the regionals, right? This is another Pokemon that can do well against Hearth Flame Ogerpon, rock type, okay? So I do expect Glimmora to continue to rise for that reason, but look at this, Snarl, Dark Pulse, even this is Choice Specs Chi-Yu. A lot of this is just gonna hit hard. Like, this is just great all-around ideas from Steven Mia, right? Using the Chi-Yu as your fire type to support Fluttermane and Glimmora, and then using Sunny Day, Tornadus to, you know, enable Chi-Yu and Fluttermane for doing more damage, you know, because of photosynthesis and you're a fire type, and then reducing water damage against your own Glimmora. So I like this idea a lot. So shout outs to Steven for doing that. Then over here, I think this is the same team, right? Are you Life Orb or are you Specs? This is still Specs, so this is more or less the same idea. Okay, let's look at Nick's team here. So Nick had the Screamtail here. Nick just likes Screamtail. I know he does, right? And it's the Encore Disable Screamtail, which we saw Anton do a lot, you know, in Portland. You know, again, just baiting out these protects and then encoring and disable, you know, specific attacks at specific times. And then Glimmora here, again, the hyper offense stuff at Ogerpon, Tornadus, and Glimmora. Then you have Kingambit Landers. So this is another cool way of utilizing this. I'm surprised to see Sandsear Storm without Rain Dance. Yeah, I thought I just saw it for a second. I did not. But again, you know, still another good way to utilize it. This is the one that we liked. This is the one that we built in the video. This one is it's not that it's our team specifically, but Hisuian Arcanine was our choice as a fire type to slap on here because we like Intimidate. We like rock damage, okay? Because again, Dragonite, Chien-Pao, Entei, these are all three Pokemon that fall to the rock type with Intimidate as well. And then at the same time, look, Terra Fairy, that's going to be good against opposing Urshifu's, you know, the fighting move. And then just reducing physical damage for this team is really, really nice. And I like it a lot. And this is just a really, really nice team, you know, especially with Choice Specs Fluttermane here. I like it a lot. So this will be a rental eventually. You know, we like it. Justin, I think you had the Life Orb, right? Yeah, this is Life Orb Chi-Yu rather than Specs. That's fine. And here's the booster Fluttermane. So it could be speed. I'm not sure exactly. You'll have to ask him. But again, you can see the common idea here with Glimmora. You know, slap on an aggressive Tornadus here. You know, put on an Ogerpon here. Pick a fire type. Chi-Yu, Incin, or, you know, Hisuian Arcanine. I think some of these also had Entei here, like this one. right? 6-3. This one had Entei with Snarl. So you can always do that. But the formula does not change. And I do expect it to move forward, in terms of getting more usage. How about Dondozo? So at the end of Portland, there was a lot of hype behind Dondozo. Like, oh, it's back. Hello, wait a minute. I thought we were done with this thing. And, people started to prepare, started to use it more, started to get some of their counters ready, but they didn't overreact and they didn't panic because, again, Dondozo, what it struggles with most is power creep, right? Yes, it is strong. Yes, there's no denying that, okay? And in the hands of a great player that can pilot Dondozo very well, you can do a lot. But would we see the Chuppa 6 in Charlotte? So what is the Chuppa 6? So basically, it was not, I don't even know if it's actually his 6, but it's the 6 he used. Dondozo Tatsugiri, okay? Wave Crash, Order Up, Earthquake. This was the Terra Grass Rocky Helmet idea. This is the Choice Scarf Tatsugiri. Then you slap on Dragonite Chenpao, okay? Then after that, it's the Glimmora idea, of course. The Power Herb, Meteor Beam Glimmora, but still Mortal Spin. So Dozo Glim was still a thing. And then Ogerpon over here to round out that last lap. Would we see this 6 at Charlotte? The answer is yes, but where? So we go back into Lab Mouse, we click the search bar, we filter Dondozo, and it's a bunch of 6-3s. So no Dondozo like we mentioned earlier in day 2s, but 6-3s is still pretty good. In a big regional as this, almost 900, listen, they'll take a 6-3, all right, depending on how you are. All right, what about Connor here? Was this the same Dozo idea? Yeah, more or less. Dragonite Chenpao here. Dondozo leftovers with Terra Fairy, Order Up, Wave Crash, Earthquake, Choice Scarf, Tatsugiri. And here is the Flutter Mane with the Ogerpon, the Heart Flame, by the way. So there's that. So more or less 2-2 Dozo to an extent, right? Then over here, we got Sergio. He decided to combine Dondozo, Tatsugiri with the Indeedee Iron Crown idea, and then Chenpao, not Dragonite, but Chenpao Entei instead. So again, still following this 2-2-2 idea. Okay, still makes sense. Now, this one was an interesting one. This one had Murkrow. I haven't seen Murkrow since, like, I don't know, Regulation C, Regulation B. This is Sunny Day Tailwind Parasong Murkrow. Holy cow, what is this? All right, but again, we still have Dondozo, Tatsugiri with Habanberry. Okay, Habanberry with Substitute. Okay, and Substitute over here. all right. And then Latias here with Mistball, Icy Wind, Psycho. This team is too cracked for me, man. All right, this is like someone getting ready for, Japan Internationals or something like that. This is definitely, this is a team. I want the rental for this. I want to try this out. Like, if there was a Dondozo team I had to use, I want to use this one. But this is also a pretty interesting squad in itself. So, of course, Sunny Day for Chiyu, and reducing water damage against Glimmora, but holy cow. But again, the point that I'm getting at here is that, Dondozo, no day 2s, but would that be the case going into Knoxville? We'll see. Time will tell, but it did not get as strong of a showcase as people anticipated it to give, right? Maybe I would imagine the over prep really took care of things. But anyway, we'll just take a look. So let's just look at Rashil's team here. Another one, Dondozo, Tatsugiri, Dragonite, Chenpao, and then here's Ogerpon with redirection supporting the Choice Spec Skoldango. Ton of damage here. All right, again, the 2-2 Dozos, they're doing their job. What is this? Is this Wheezing with Regigigas? Holy cow. Oh, man. Great. Okay. All right, and then there's the Ursaluna with Cresselia. So, Crass Ursaluna, Wheezing Regigigas, Dondozo, Tatsugiri. 2-2-2 formula. All right, cool. All right, I'm done looking at Dondozo for now. But 6-3 results altogether, a far cry of where it was in Portland, but it's still okay as far as where it is right now. Iron Crown Side Spam is one of the strongest archetypes right now. And again, a lot of respect is given to it when you do team building in Regulation F. So let's take a look at how that did this time around. And you can see the results. Iron Crown doing very, very well. Even the ones that didn't make day 2, still like a ton of Iron Crown. Look at all these 6-3s. Okay, so let's see how you're able to do this. So let's look at Total Web's team here. So typically what you want to do is with Iron Crown and Indeedee, you slap on Tornadus and you slap on Urshifu. That's like the key 4. Then after that, the other 2 variants is just up to the player in terms of how they want to play it. So here's Flutter Mane with Choice Specs, but instead of going with something like Chiyu or even something like Landorus Incarnate, we're going with the Ogerpon Heart Flame yet again. So here we go, another redirector that can also put on pressure against bulky grass types, you know, with Horn Leech, and then also, I'm sorry, with Ivy Cudgel, because you are a Terra type fire. Okay, and then at the same time, Horn Leech is great against some of these bulky water types, just in general, right? So, you know, one of the things that Iron Crown teams struggle against is actually the Ogerpon Wellspring, because when they terrestrialize, they get a special defense boost, and it's hard to break them with your special attackers. So enter Ogerpon Heartflame, and now all of a sudden, you have a strong grass move at +1 that you can click into the Wellspring Ogerpon. So that's also pretty interesting to note. But other than that, it is pretty standard here. So shoutouts to Toller for doing relatively well. Rajan, all right, what was your composition? So again, there's Indeedee, Iron Crown, Tornadus, Urshifu, but single strike Urshifu, not the rapid strike one. Then we have another Ogerpon. Okay, this is the grass one, and then we have Ursaluna over here. Why? Because we have Trick Room Indeedee, so it still works. So this way, you know, you have a couple modes to play with here. You have the Tailwind mode, and you also have the Trick Room mode. So this is pretty cool. I like that a lot. What about here? So now, again, the same formula. We're Torn, Iron Crown, Indeedee, Ursh, but this is the Rapid Strike Ursh. Your two fillers here, the Ursaluna that we saw last time, and then Galarian Zapdos can actually deter some of these Intimidators. Okay, Galarian Zapdos is something that we need to do a video on, because this thing is another one of those niche Pokemon that has done well, has gotten results, and we need to feature it. I think it's time. I think this upcoming week we'll get a team with Galarian Zapdos going, so we'll see what happens there. But what about here? This one has Dusclops Ursaluna, so we get to see an interesting adaptation from these Iron Crown teams where they're adding a secondary strong mode to the squad. So now you have this Ursaluna idea with some Trick Room Center, right? So again, either that's coming from Indeedee, or here you're coming from Dusclops, but this one is forsaken the Tornadus idea. So that's okay. That's still totally fine. Then over here from Dylan, this one has Incin for the Intimidate stuff, okay, of course. And then you have your own Ogerpon Wellspring over here. So again, another one where you're forsaking the Tornadus idea. So we're seeing some variants. All right, and then this one is just straight up Chi-Yu Fluttermane, right? You know, the typical 4 with Indeedee, Iron Crown, Tornadus plus one of the Urshifus, and then you slap on Fluttermane Chi-Yu for just all strong special attack damage types. All right, and then Justin Karras down here, same thing. Again, the same formula, but this time we have Ogerpon and Heartflame. I think we just saw that earlier. But the other thing I wanted to note is the Regidrago addition to Iron Crown, okay? So, you know, I was going to do like another spotlight video with like Regidrago. Does Regidrago add a new dimension to Iron Crown? Does it make it better? That's something that I wanted to see, and I wanted to wait until Charlotte Regionals to see if some people would even do that, and they did. So here we go. Day 2 results here. Regidrago Iron Crown. So again, if you're going to have Tornadus here, you might as well add the Regidrago with Indeedee, right? Because look at this. Torn, Indeedee, Regidrago, Urshifu. This was already a core to begin with. Okay, we've seen this in Regulation D. All right, because again, you click Tailwind, you click Dragon Energy, things melt. And then if you want to use priority moves against Regidrago to make Dragon Energy do less damage, you add Indeedee or Farigiraf there to stop priority stuff. And then now you add Urshifu, which is already pretty good with Tornadus in general, just because of Tailwind and Rain Dance ideas. And now you can slap on the Iron Crown here, which fits well with the Indeedee all in all. So great synergy. Okay. And what's really cool here is that some leads would even feature this. You could lead both Regidrago and Iron Crown at the same time, and then bring Indeedee in the back. And now the opponent has to kind of guess, do I want to suffer Expanding Force, or do I want to take out Regidrago Dragon Energy? Because you could swap the Indeedee into the Regidrago slot, or you can swap the Indeedee into the Iron Crown slot. Okay, you don't always have to lead Tornadus Urshifu or Tornadus plus one of these homies, right? It's very flexible. So you can definitely do that as well. And that's one of the things I liked about Regidrago additions to Iron Crown. So stay tuned for that kind of team moving forward. But here's another Ogerpon here. Here's the Ogerpon Defiant version. Again, a strong grass type against the Ogerpon Wellspring. Like I mentioned, Ogerpon Wellspring was a problem, but now we add the grass variant. All right, and now all of a sudden we have something for it. So good adaptations to these Iron Crown teams. You know, again, just, you know, being, you got to be flexible. You can't just lose to Ogerpon. It's too common, right? It's second in usage. You need something against it. And if you want to take the team to the next level, that's exactly what you do, right? So I'll look at this one just because it has a Regidrago also. But again, same idea. Now you just have Assault Vest Incineroar here. I like Assault Vest Incineroar. I think it's really, really nice. But again, you know, Tornadus, Iron Crown. No, I'm sorry. Well, instead of Urshifu, we actually have Ogerpon Wellspring here, but no Ursh. But again, Indeedee Iron Crown here with Regidrago. Still, similar ideas. But again, you know, I think the Regidrago idea makes a lot of sense, as well as adding a strong grass type like the Defiant Ogerpon, which is exactly what we saw here from Rajan, for example, and then some others down here. So we'll see where Iron Crown moves forward heading into Knoxville. But so far, great results here in Charlotte. What about the Hard Trick Room teams? What about like the Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal stuff? So we have a couple of teams, you know, with Hatterene, for example, and even Torkoal. So Zachary Thornburg and Blake Silver, again, day 2 results here. So let's take a look at Zach's team. Basically, again, as expected, Trick Room setter, you know, with Ursaluna, and then here's the Hatterene here doing a ton of damage against Dark types and other fighting types, which is something that Ursaluna, P2, and Guldango struggle against. So it's a nice idea to slap on a fairy type there. Then we get the defensive backbone with Incineroar and Amoonguss. Intimidate, Fake Out, Redirection, you know, to support the Trick Room setters. And then after that, look, you're just basically clicking Airy Impulses. You're intimidating opponents. So this way, you know, you're not taking as much damage from some of your options, right? So cool squad from Zachary Thornburg. Then if we look over here from Blake, this one is the I think it's what I call the Brian Collins 6. You know, again with the Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal, and then you know you slap on the Urshifu and Gallade over here, but he chose King Gambit over something like the Ursaluna. So that's pretty cool over there from Blake. I like that idea. I like King Gambit and Trick Room stuff, especially with Indeedee here, and especially with the Swords Dance setup. Like Indeedee's Swords Dance King Gambit is actually very, very good because again, you have that redirection. Okay, you can set up the Swords Dance, you can even set up Trick Room, and then the King Gambit has Kowtow Cleave, Black Glasses damage, right? You can't click Sucker Punch in Psychic Terrain, but that's okay, you don't have to. You can always click Kowtow Cleave and Trick Room, which is really, really good. Then Expanding Force Hatterene, which was, again, the feature, you know, in Regulation F. And then Gallade and Urshifu are just doing a ton of damage. Like, Gallade might even be Brave Nature here. Again, Wide Guard, really good against a lot of spread move damage. Sacred Sword, Sacred Sword, great against ignoring defense boosts like Dondozo. Psycho Cut in Psychic Terrain is very, very strong. Urshifu Rapid Strike, again, doing a ton of damage along with Indeedee. And then from here, Torkoal can just click Eruption in the Trick Room, and then you're kind of in a great spot there. So cool stuff from Blake. I gotta hand it out to Blake and Zach. Then some of the other 6-3 teams. So again, if we look down here, this is the standard one, right? With the Ursaluna, with the Gallade and the Urshifu here, as opposed to the King Gambit. Still very, very good. This is more standard stuff. Okay, then over here, Logan's team, this one also has Iron Hands here with the Ogerpon Wellspring and Heatran. Heatran is something that, you know, has fallen within the meta a little bit, but it is still a good Pokemon, right? It just depends on the team that you want to play it on. But again, Indeedee, Hatterene, again, now you have Iron Hands and Ursaluna. This in itself is a core, and then you have 2 flexible options here. I do like having Ogerpon Wellspring here, and then, you know, here's the Heatran. So again, Fire Water Grass core, but again, you know, the hard Trick Room stuff, it can do well. You know, I'm not, but they're somewhat linear in terms of how you play them. But if you are a good player, right, you can definitely mix and match your leads a little bit, and you know, you have different lines that maybe the normal person may not be able to prepare for against, right? So, for example, right here, Kyle, all right, adding the Iron Boulder adds a nice little twist to the Indeedee, Hatterene, Torkoal, Lilligant stuff, right? Like, of course, we know after your Eruption, we know that, okay? That's nothing new. We know in Indeedee, Hatterene with Torkoal in the back, we know that. Then you add Iron Boulder with Booster Energy, and this is like, again, like another Urshifu, right? Mighty Cleave here with Swords Dance. This is fulfilling that King Gambit rule, right? You're just redirecting, you're clicking Swords Dance, you're clicking Mighty Cleaves. You can't protect, even if you want to stall Trick Room. So that's a good idea. And here's Urshifu again. You know, Urshifu on these teams makes sense because, again, one way to stall out Trick Room is to, like, alternate your protects. But you can't protect in front of Urshifu. So, you know, you can kind of take advantage of that. And Assault Vest Urshifu is actually pretty cool here. So that's also why I wanted to look at Kyle's team, because he had an Assault Vest Urshifu, right? Which is, you know, you don't see that. You either see Sash, you see Scarf, you even see Band. You don't see Assault Vest. I don't know how many Assault Vest Urshifus we're gonna see in a tournament like this. But again, all in all, you know, a ton of 6-3s from hard Trickum stuff. And with the other two, with Zach and Blake, getting into day 2. But all in all, it's okay. It's a decent archetype. You can definitely win a lot of online tournaments. I don't know how far the hard Trickum archetype can take you in a day 2 regional as stacked as this. So, that remains to be seen moving forward into Knoxville. All right, let's take a look at some niche picks that we saw at Charlotte. And there's 2 of them that I want to cover specifically. One of them is Roaring Moon. And of course, the headline here is with our homie Neil. So Neil, top 8 with Roaring Moon. Okay, he loves Roaring Moon. Yeah, he's used this Pokemon a lot. So let's take a look at his set here. He's got Knockoff, Dragon Dance, Acrobatics, Protect. Okay, and again, the whole idea with Roaring Moon is that, first of all, you're a Dark type. So you're great into Side Spam automatically. Okay, then you add the fact that you're a Dragon type. Okay, so now you're able to resist the Ogerpon stuff. You resist Fire, Water, and Grass. And then at the same time, you have speed control on your side. You have Tailwind, okay? So you can give speed control for your team. That being said, Neil doesn't have that. He instead has a Dragon Dance set, which is still fine. But Dragon Dance does a ton of damage because now you can boost your own speed and your own attack. Yes, you are susceptible to Intimidate, but there are ways to get around that because, again, you can just Dragon Dance off the Intimidate, right? So Roaring Moon is another niche pick. So that's pretty cool. What do we have here? Very standard stuff, actually. Incineroar, Ogerpon, Wellspring, Fire, Water, Grass. Okay, then you add Amoonguss here for redirection support. This is what's going to help you set up the Dragon Dances. All right, and it's also going to protect your Flutter Mane all in all. Incineroar, with the Intimidate support, again, Roaring Moon and Flutter Mane, they don't have the best physical defenses, especially Flutter Mane. So having Intimidate to, extend their longevity and reducing physical damage is actually really, really nice. And then at the same time, your Amoonguss here, the redirection, the Cleric stuff, with Pollen Puff healing your team. And then Assault Vest, Raging Bolt, the double dragon idea, which is a common niche theme in VGC, double dragons. Again, Assault Vest here, what are we doing? We have Snarl here, right? So now all of a sudden the Raging Bolt is, along with Incineroar, a damage mitigation Pokemon because you can click Snarl, but you still have the priority Thunderclaps, and then the occasional Thunderbolts and Draco Meteors that you can click every now and then. So Assault Vest, Raging Bolt, again, able to stand here with Incineroar, just sitting there, bulking out damage. Maybe you can heal it up with the Amoonguss, but I like it a lot. And then here you have another redirector with the Ogerpon Wellspring. So you have 2 redirection mons. So you're protecting your Bolt, your Ogerpon, your Roaring Moon, your Flutter Mane. So that's pretty cool all in all. And then this is Terragrass Incin with a Fiji Berry. But I like this a lot. This almost looks like an adaptation of a Regulation C team, in my opinion, right? Because I do remember something like this, but again, Roaring Moon is a good niche Pokemon. And then if we look at some other of these Roaring Moon teams, how about this one? Another double dragon team. How about Roaring Moon and Archaludon? So again, another Pokemon here with Assault Vest, and then this is the Snarl Archaludon as opposed to the Raging Bolt Snarl. So this is pretty cool because again, you have the AV, which gives you, good special defense. Then Stamina gives you physical defense, when you do get hit. And you have Incineroar and you have Snarl. So now a lot of these options are just not taking that much damage just because of the tools that you have. And again, you still have Amoonguss here. So similar ideas to Neil. Again, it is still Dragon Dance, Roaring Moon. Okay, and then it is still Choice Best Flutter Mane over here. So still going to do a lot of damage. Is Darsh's team the same as Neil's? I think it is. Yeah, more or less. Yeah, pretty much. So that was pretty cool to see. Then we have a couple 5-4s. I felt like this team could have did something, right? Let me look at Jordan's team here. This is a pretty cool team. Like, again, but same formulas, right? Amoonguss, Urshifu, Flutter Mane, Roaring Moon. Here's your Intimidate Mon, Hisuian Arcanine as opposed to Incineroar for dealing more damage. But here's Will-O-Wisp. Okay, that's very punishing. And then here's Iron Hands here as another fake out option, even if you don't have Incineroar on your team. So same idea, right? But, just 5-4 as a result. But again, Roaring Moon was a nice niche pickup. And, grats to Neil, for doing relatively well with it. The other niche pick, which is, again, another similar role to Roaring Moon is, Brendan Zhang's Iron Jugulis team. He's the only one that ran it. So let's take a look at it. And, just like Roaring Moon, you are a Dark type. You have Tailwind, access to Tailwind. So you can give yourself speed control. And you don't really care about Side Spam a whole lot. But now you have Air Slash, which is great into Ogerpons. great into Urshifus. Then you add Snarl, great into Side Spam in general, great into Raging Bolts, great into, you know, these other special attackers like another Flutter Mane, for example. Terra Poison's really, really good. You know, again, fulfilling that niche role. Like, again, this is what we like about niche Pokemon. If they have a job on your team and you need something, a role fulfilled, you know, you got to explore it. And Brendan Zhang was able to do that because look at this team. Blood Moon Ursaluna with Farigiraf. We know what that can do, okay? Now, you add Incineroar, Amoonguss, and Ogerpon Wellspring, a defensive backbone, okay? Intimidate, Fake Out, redirection stuff. You know, that's going to help support your Trick Room Mons and your Sweepers. Then you have access to Tailwind here, and now you add another reverse idea here with Ogerpon and even your own Blood Moon. So I wonder what the speed is like on these Blood Moons, but again, you know, fulfilling that role against opposing Side Spam with the Iron Jugulis. So shout outs to Brendan for getting as far as he did with this team. And if he makes the rental, maybe we might even feature it. But that all depends. You got to give this team to your brother and let Aaron Cybertron Zhang feature it, Brendan. Like, there's just no way you don't give it. But nice to see stuff like Iron Jugulis and Rory Moon fulfill their niche roles on their team. All right, how about like an underrated team that I would say from Charlotte Regionals? To me, it would have to be the Pelipper Archaludon archetype. I think that all in all needs a little bit more discussion, and it seems pretty straightforward. But look at the results. 1, 2, like a lot of day 2 results from Pelipper Archaludon stuff, but just Archaludon in general. Like, the archetype is strong, especially the addition of Baxcalibur. This has been on the rise in some of the online tournaments, where they're now adding Baxcalibur to this as opposed to something like maybe Landorus Incarnate. But, you know, Archaludon with Pelipper, we know what that does, right? You set the rain, you can click electro shots, right? That we know. Okay, you've got Urshifu, Rapid Strike, does a lot of damage in the rain, it's your physical attacker. We know that. Amoonguss also very good in rain because reduced fire damage gives you something to play in Trick Room. You can heal the Archaludon as well. Cool. But now you add Baxcalibur, which is normally seen on these Ninetales, you know, snow teams as of late, you know, back in Regulation F, but not as much here. But now all of a sudden you add Baxcalibur into the rain teams, and you might say, why? Well, Baxcalibur, again, another double dragon idea. Again, ice types, great into Landorus Incarnate, okay? And it's also great into the other dragons in general, because look, what gives Archaludon a very hard time? Landorus Incarnate, right? You can't click your Electrosat against it, okay? Your body press is not going to do a whole lot of damage into it, right? It does get resisted. It is a flying type. So let's get some ice damage here. Let's get Baxcalibur here. All right, let's start clicking ice shards into a lot of this stuff. All right, click icicle crashes and, you know, just kind of chill. So Baxcalibur being a cool addition here to these Pelipper Archaludon teams. But all in all, I think I like the archetype a lot. This one's a little bit more standard. How about Dyson Hughes over here? Again, yeah, here we go. Incin, Amoonguss, Urshifu, Rapid Strike, Fire, Water, Grass Core, Archaludon with Pelipper and Flutter Mane. This is very, very standard, okay? This is almost the same idea that, you know, the original Archaludon team had, you know, with Tornadus and then Incin Amoonguss. Okay, it's just Pelipper instead. But in the grand scheme of things, look, if the main core works, all you have to do is just add a niche mon here and there for particular matchups. All right, and again, right here, Jeremy Cole, same thing. The Baxcalibur comes here yet again. So, you know, if you want a cool Archaludon team, you know, add the Baxcalibur idea to it. We already covered Davis' team. How about Owen's team here? This one has the Landorus. This is the more traditional Pelipper idea, right? So instead of Baxcalibur, you add your Landorus. Sandsear Storm, great in the rain. You know, nothing else needs to be said here. Terra Bug Archaludon. Of course, the bug idea just, again, makes sense against the fighting types, you know, the ground types in general. So that's pretty cool all in all. And then, of course, the traditional stuff. This one is with Brady. He's had this team for a while now. This is also R6 that we put out as a rental for January. Incin, Amoonguss, there's the Urshifu, there's the Tornadus, here's Flutter Mane, and here's Archaludon. This is the more traditional way to use it. But hey, man, the standard stuff will still get you day 2. So, you know, why would you defer away from it, right? So, you know, if there was an underrated archetype that I think could do well, you know, moving forward, that has already done well, you know, all things considered, I would pick up Archaludon, right? Good results. How about some cool team alerts? So we've got 2 of them. One of them is Tyranitar, Excadrill. Sand! How about Sand, you know, getting into the day 2? Let's look at Dustin's team over here. It's a really, really nice squad. And this is almost exactly what we had in the team builder with some minor differences. And stay tuned for our sand team building video after this one, the day after. But, I like the idea of Tyranitar Excadrill coupled with something like Galarian Zapdos. I think that's one way to really start, is because, again, you're weak to Urshifu, you're weak to Intimidate. Galarian Zapdos kind of gives you an option against both, because Choice Scarf as a flying type, you put pressure, it's a fighting type, right? Then at the same time, you don't want to intimidate Tyranitar Excadrill, understanding that you're just going to give Galarian Zapdos an attack boost. So that's really the boon here that you have. But then at the same time, again, Tyranitar and Excadrill, they're both weak to ground type attacks as well. Galarian Zapdos is a flying type. Galarian Zapdos right now, I would say, is almost the ideal third pick with Tyranitar and Excadrill. You have a Defiant type with flying, similar to Galarian Articuno. I would say that's the other one, right? They go hand in hand. A flying type that gets a competitive or Defiant boost. Okay, so this way you have options against Intimidate and ground types in general, right? And then pressuring the Urshifus, right? So that's one way to consider it. Then you add Farigiraf here, which will stop the priority stuff against Tyranitar Excadrill. Because again, Excadrill with Sand Rush can basically outspeed your entire team. And one way to really get around that is to click priority moves. But if we swap in the Farigiraf, now you can't do that. So now Excadrill can actually play the game. All right, then you say, okay, cool. We've got Farigiraf. Let's add the Blood Moon or archetype here. So now we have a Trick Room mode to the team. Tyranitar can function there. Just because, Tyranitar is, generally relatively slow. So that works too. And then over here, you get a Fake Out Mom with Rillaboom. All right, it makes a lot of sense. I feel like this is the flex slot here. I had these 5. And then my 6th option here was different. But, there was a right idea here going grass. Stay tuned for our team building video, of course. But this is the way to do it. If I had to build sand, I'd start with these 5. Like, in my opinion, okay? Because they just give you a lot of options into what's running around right now. And this might be the way to do it. And sand is really cool against, sun and rain altogether, these cool weather wars. And who doesn't love Tyranitar? Right? Who doesn't love Tyranitar? I think it's one of the best Pokemon ever designed. So I spent a lot of time trying to think about how to make sand work. Thankfully, we had other players try some stuff for us, to give some inspiration. And here's one of them. So shout outs to Dustin for doing relatively well. The rest of the stuff, again, some interesting ideas here. There's Latias Milotic. So again, a competitive Pokemon there. The other thing that you can also consider, this is where, I know there's a 4-5 result here, but another good partner for a Tyranitar Excadrill is the Ogerpon Wellspring. Again, that's great against the Urshifu Rapid Strike, okay? Because again, you have to deter the water moves, right? So that makes a lot of sense, all things considered. Now, from here, I don't know about the rest of the squad, but Ogerpon Wellspring is another good partner to have with Tyranitar Excadrill. So you can even explore that idea, because you can see, like, Ogerpon Wellspring was used a little bit with some of this stuff. But I thought Dustin's team was really cool, and nice job from him to get sand into day 2. The other cool team was the other weather that isn't used besides sand, and that is the snow teams. And we got to see a regular Articuno Ninetales team go into day 2. 11-4 result from Don over here. So let's take a look at this. I'm very interested. So here we go. Alolan-Ninetales, Icy Wind, Auroraville, Moonblast, Encore. Standard set here. Here's Articuno with Never Melt Ice. So a little bit more damage. Terra-type Fire. Okay, that's cool. And then Tailwind, Freeze Dry. This is great into Ogerpon Wellspring, by the way. And then Blizzard. So a flying type that, again, you have you have this idea with Snowcloak again, and sometimes you get lucky, okay, and sometimes that's cool. But what's also pretty cool about this is, besides the Blizzard spam, you have Magmar here with the Violet. Okay, Magmar Electabuzz with the Violet is a thing in Regulation F, right? Because now look, you have a bulky Follow Me user, right? Then you have Flame Body, so you can burn things. So that's pretty cool in itself. Then you have Taunt here. Then you have Overheat. This is a set. I want to use this team for a video. So Don, if you're watching, put out that rental. Let's use it for a team. All right. Then Landers here is pretty standard here with Sandsear Storm. So this is actually pretty cool because, you know, one thing that Ninetales and Articuno are weak to is fire and steel types. Well, Landers kind of takes care of both, so that's pretty cool as well. Then you have Ogerpon Wellspring, again, another redirector, but instead, we've gone the Swords Dance route, and this is actually a redirector. And then King Gambit, you know, again, gives you something to play in some of those Trick Room games. Great into Tailwind, Hyper Offense stuff. King Gambit, just as a whole, is a good Pokemon. So, you know, really, really cool Kanto Articuno team with Ninetales. So if there is a rental, I would love to use it. How about the Latias Balance archetype? This was a team that was storming the meta towards the late December, early January days. And we get one in day 2, but that's about it. Rank 69, by the way. Cool ranking to finish. But here we go. Standard stuff here. Latias, King Gambit, right? Then you had the Landers, then the Ogerpon Wellspring. Hisuian Arcanine making an appearance here as opposed to something like Incineroar or Entei. And then here is Fluttermane with the choice spec. So, you know, again, Latias, King Gambit, still a very, very cool team. Again, Tailwind, bulky speed control option with Recover. It's annoying. Landorus also very, very good. And as well as Fluttermane. You have your Intimidate with Hisuian Arcanine, Fire, Water, Grass Core, Dragon, Fairy, Steel. All in all, great team. Okay, now moving forward after that, and we start running into some interesting stuff. Like now we have 5-4s and 4-5s. And again, you know, Latias and some of this stuff, again, it gets out pressured and it outpaced by a lot of these faster teams, especially with priority, right? So all in all, I'd say the art type in general has fallen behind some of the other stuff, but it's not like it's not viable. It's still like pretty good. Okay, it just needs to be adapted. I think the like for example, let's just look here from Daniel's team. Like I think the 6 needs a rework. Not necessarily rework. Maybe you adjust 1 or 2 of these options and make it a little bit more modern, because I think Latias, King Gambit stay. I think everything else, as well as Fluttermane, I think those 3 can stay. I think we want to look elsewhere with some of our other options. But you know, I do like Latias. I still think it's a great Pokemon. I still think it's a good archetype. You know, this Latias Balance idea. I just think it needs something else. I think it needs some more aggression. All right, lastly, let's take a look at Walking Wake. Again, you know, back in Portland, it struggled, right? And it's had a difficult time to get its legging in regulation. People are trying all kinds of different things. It just needs to be the 1B option on a team, I think, right? It can't be the main focus of the squad. It can't be like the Michael Jordan of a team. It has to be the Scottie Pippen. I think something else on the team has to assume command as the big dominant Pokemon of the squad, and then the Walking Wake takes on the supplementary DPS of the team, right? Because it's just a nuker, right? Draco Meteor, Flamethrower, Hydro Steam, Protect, Life Orb. Cool, it's a nuker. I've got other nukers to use. So what else can Walking Wake give me that some other options can't, right? So if we take a look at Pengy's team, okay, this is the Jump Bluff Sun stuff, right? And again, I just want to give credit to Pengy, man. This was a cool team to come up with in lieu to Portland and whatnot. I saw him start using this on stream and, you know, leading into Portland. And, you know, he started with like, what was that ground type? That's not Garchomp. The name escapes me. It hasn't seen much play besides what Pengy used. Yeah, I can't remember that ground type. That's a Paradox Pokemon at the moment, right? But anyway, it had Photosynthesis. It was a ground type user, but then he swapped it out. And now we have this stuff with Torkoal, Fluttermane, and Walking Wake. I still think you always start here with these 3, right? Because Torkoal gives the Sun for Walking Wake and Fluttermane, and you boost both of them up. I feel like that's always like a good place to start. Then your next 3 is up for grabs, right? Raging Bolt makes sense as the premier feature, right? You know, Photosynthesis with Sun. Again, a lot of damage. You might even argue you start here. Torkoal, Raging Bolt, Fluttermane, right? So you have a Dragon type, you have a Fire type, you have a Fairy type. Look, you get Walking Wake. That could be like your quote-unquote Water type. And again, after that, let's get a Sun Abuser here in a Chlorophyll. Not Venusaur, but we need something with Tailwind. Let's make the team faster. He chose Jump Up. Makes sense. Then Assault Vest Incineroar comes here. You get Intimidate, you get Fake Out, and then you get another aggressive physical attacker onto the team besides all these special homies, right? So this was the way to use it as of this moment. This was probably the strongest way to use Walking Wake. So shout outs to Pengy for doing that. But then over here, we get a 10-5 team. Finally, something else a little bit different. But still, like I said, you start with that 3. Walking Wake, Raging Bolt, and Torkoal, okay? Then you add Whimsicott as opposed to Jumpluff, and this is your Tailwind setter, but it's not your Sun setter, right? This is still your Sun setter. Then you add Farigiraf to deny priority. So this way you can play the game under your Tailwind. And then Ogerpon Heartflame does a ton of damage in Sun. And now you have also a Grass type move to click here. Excuse me. And then you have Swords Dance, right? So that's also pretty cool as well. So this is another cool variation of Raging Bolt with Walking Wake and Torkoal. So I think that idea makes a lot of sense. But then after that, then you start seeing some other stuff. This one is actually a little bit more standard, right? Tornadus with Sunny Day, you know, with Instant Rillaboom, the Fake Out Bros, and then here's Walking Wake. You know, here's your Water type per se. And then Raging Bolt is, again, the other dominant dragon on this team. So I kind of like this. This is also pretty cool. And then you could play it like this, right? You just Thunderbolt, Thunderclap, Draco Meteor, Magnet. It's a nuker, right? That's what you want Raging Bolt to do. To nuke things and then have priority. Same thing, Walking Wake, another nuker. So, you know, that's its role. Like, that is its role. Then you start looking down here, people starting to get creative. Now we start looking at Whimsicott with Annihilate. Okay, now we can do Sunny Day and we can do Beat Up. Okay, so now the Annihilate all of a sudden looking great in an Intimidate heavy meta, where now you can start clicking Drain Punches, Rage Fist, Bulk Up setup, right? And again, the Walking Wake is a more supportive option here. This one has Snarl with the occasional Hydro Steam in the Sun. So this is pretty cool in essence. So I like this idea from Jeremy. We featured his squad on the channel a little bit before. So this was a couple years ago. But, you know, all in all, again, Walking Wake still looking for that big result. Will Knoxville be the one where it does that? Just that remains to be seen. Last but not least, I want to end the video with one of our teams. Any Clover teams in Charlotte? Yes, there was one. Right here, Jeffrey Yang. He borrowed our team, our Primarina rental team, 6-3 result. So shout outs to him. And I'll just show you the EVs because this was made public already. We did a video. This was one of our rentals, okay? And I wanted to combine the idea of Porygon, Primarina, and Registeel. Why? Because all three are annoying, okay? Because you can click Trick Room, and you can't break the Registeel or the Porygon, and Primarina does a lot of damage with Life Orb. So basically, you have Eerie Impulse, you reduce all the special attack damage running around. Registeel doesn't care about your physical damage either because of Iron Defense, Body Press stuff. And then Primarina, again, does so much damage into a lot of the Dragon Heavy meta that we have right now. And then Hyper Voice is very strong with Life Orb, Liquid Voice. And then Ice Beam, again, very good coverage against Landorus, which is something that can pressure the Registeel. And, you know, again, a Fairy type into the Urshifu is just very strong. And, you know, Water typing makes you resist the Surging Strikes all in all. Then you just slap on Instant, Rillaboom, the Fake Out Brothers. And then Raging Bolt here is very slow but very bulky. Look at this EV spread that I gave Raging Bolt. 220 HP, 140 defense, 108 special attack. Dragon Pulse, Calm Mind. This is a Calm Mind Raging Bolt that you can easily set up with the Fake Out Brothers. Okay, and then, you know, especially in Trick Room, you know, with this speed, you can just start pressuring a lot of different things, you know, with Dragon Pulse. And even if you're not in Trick Room, you know, +1 Calm Mind Thunderclaps as priority moves, that'll help you get around that idea if you can't even get up your Trick Room. But I wanted to make a super bulky, annoying team, and this is one way to do it. And Jeffrey liked it, and he got 6-3. I think that was his first regional. He got 40 CP out of it, so, you know, well invested. So thank you, Jeffrey, for taking one of our squads and getting some good CP out of it. But anyway, that's it. Hopefully, we painted a picture for you as far as what the Charlotte regionals looked like, and hopefully we gave you some inspiration for Knoxville moving forward. And again, if you're going to Knoxville and if you need some help with the team, if you're trying to get things going and you need a little bit of help in terms of like battling or just sorting out your EVs for your squads or just matchup things that you want to discuss, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one Discord call with me. You can join the Discord, first of all. And then from there, we get you that team that you need. We can build the team from scratch. We get you the EVs like you see on the screen. And then you're free to test it out, you know, with the remaining time that you have up until Knoxville, right? So sign up. The link will be in the pinned comment section as well as in the video description, like we said. All right, but we'll be back with another video in the next one, guys. Peace out and have a good one.